Okay, welcome to the first video that we're going to have regarding plant identification. One thing I wanted to point out to you is that this is a document that you'll probably be seeing a lot more of. I'll basically go ahead and share this with you. That way you've got access to all these presentations. You can print them off if you want to print them off, if you just want to watch these, if you want to have these on file. Something good for you to reference at different points throughout this process of learning these plants. The next thing I want to show you is the plant list that you're going to have to know for this contest. It's a pretty daunting list if you look at it and you try to break it all the way down, but we're going to take it section by section, and therefore we're going to have different due dates on when things are due, or when certain dates that you should know certain plants. So we're going to start off with grasses in this lesson. In order to do that, I'm going to pull up the first PowerPoint. It's just called Grasses Presentation on your study information. Okay, so we're going to start off with grasses, and the grasses are there's only 6 grasses on the list that you need to know. There's a couple that are what we call ornamental, or they're used for landscape purposes. Otherwise, the rest of these are turf grasses. The first one we're going to start off with is buffalo grass. As you can see in the picture here, this is kind of the way it grows in native pasture land. There actually is some of this growing in the sandhills of Nebraska. It is considered to be hairy all over. You'll kind of see that in a little bit pictures in a few slides here. It is kind of a little bit more of a lighter green to a gray color. It is more drought tolerant than a lot of the other grasses, so that is one advantage that it has. It is native to Nebraska. It is stoloniferous, which I'll talk about in just a second. And it has what we call these tufts, or the flower heads. If you see these tufts, it should be a dead giveaway that this particular plant is buffalo grass. Here's a couple more pictures that you can see, probably a little bit better the tufts that they have. And this is what we're talking about when we say hairy all over. It's going to have hair all the way up the stems, and even on the seed heads and things like that. It's a little bit different picture. This is a black and white picture, but I think it actually does a pretty good job of showing what the plant actually looks like. It's got these bunch grasses. The seed heads are like that, and these are the dried up seed heads. So in the fall, the winter, this is what the seed heads are going to look like if they're still in the plant. And the other thing that needs to be pointed out in this picture is stoloniferous. These are what we call stolons. And what it does is this is just like strawberries, where if the plant will go ahead and send out what we call a runner, and it's going to be on top of the ground, and it's going to form in that soil. Eventually, after that happens, the roots are going to grow down, and that new plant is going to grow up a new shoot. And this is one way that the plant can actually reproduce itself. So that's kind of unique about buffalo grass. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is Japanese silvergrass. This is going to have, the leaves are actually going to have a silver midrib. In other words, that middle vein that runs right through the leaf is going to be silver in color. As you can see, it's a clumped grass. This is not going to be something that you're going to put in turf grass, otherwise you're going to be mowing it every other day. But it's going to be something that people are going to put in their landscape designs. It does have fan-shaped seed heads, as you can see. A lot of times those are going to blow in the wind. Pretty easy to identify. They are used as what we call an ornamental. In other words, they're going to be put in the landscape for grass purposes. A couple other pictures here, just to kind of highlight the differences. These are kind of what the individual seeds are going to look like in the bottom right corner here. Otherwise, this is kind of what the seed heads look like up close. The next one is going to be called Bermuda grass. And Bermuda grass is obviously going to be a turf grass. A lot of times people actually put this on golf courses, especially in Florida, areas like that. It's commonly used on golf courses. Next thing you know about Bermuda grass is it does have sparse or small hair just on the leaf blades. Like I said, it's a lawn or a golf course grass. It's light to medium green, pretty desirable coloring for a golf course. And it has stolons and rhizomes. Now what rhizomes are is basically the opposite of stolons in the fact that instead of going above ground to send those shoots, it's actually going to send those shoots below ground. That's how it's going to go ahead and reproduce itself. But Bermuda grass is unique because it has stolons and rhizomes. This is actually what the seed head will look like. A lot of times, if it's used on a golf course or on a lawn, you're not going to see the seed head because usually people are going to mow it before you see this. And this is kind of a picture of the way that Bermuda grass is going to go ahead and grow. The next one is Kentucky bluegrass. A couple things about Kentucky bluegrass. First of all, you normally don't see the seed head. This is probably the most common grass that we have, along with tall fescue in our turf grasses. One thing you'll notice here is you can kind of see how it kind of cups itself if the leaves are able to grow out. Sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't, depending on if it's mowed or manicured. The other thing about Kentucky bluegrass is you'll see that it's got kind of a what we call boat-shaped tips, which we just kind of talked about with the cupping. It is a turf grass. The veins are on both sides of the midrib are kind of transparent, and you can see that midrib right in the middle. This is the way that you're going to be able to tell the difference between Kentucky bluegrass and tall fescue, which you're going to see in a couple slides. The next one is feather reed grass. You could say that it's kind of similar to Japanese silvergrass because it does grow in a clump, as you can kind of see in these pictures. Here's one clump, here's another clump, so that you can see that. But you can definitely tell that the seed heads are going to be a little bit different as well. I feel it's kind of like a feather or plume-like seed head. It's also going to grow to about 4 feet tall, and it's going to go ahead and grow in clumps. But pretty easy to distinguish between feather reed grass because this is more straight up and down versus the Japanese silvergrass, which its seed head will sway in the wind a little bit easier. The next one is tall fescue. One thing you'll notice about tall fescue right off the bat, once again, it's turf grass. It's one that we commonly use in Nebraska. It's going to not have that really defined midrib. You can kind of see that all those veins are very similar there. Same thing in this picture here. The veins are going to run parallel, and they're not necessarily going to have that outstanding midrib. It is considered a bunch grass. It will grow in bunches, as well as we already talked about the fact that it has no midrib. So really when it comes down to it, grasses, first question you need to ask yourself is it a turf grass or is it a ornamental grass? And then you can kind of go from there and start looking at the differences. You know, if it's an ornamental grass, basically you have two options. It's either going to be Japanese silvergrass or feather reed grass. That concludes this quick lesson. It's only about 7.5 minutes here. There are some practice quizzes that you could possibly take on the study information that you have.